Every day, hundreds of Hearthstone cards are ignored, looked over, never having a chance to be placed in a deck, let alone make any impact on actual games of Hearthstone. If you will, join me in a trip down to the bottom of HS Replay's play rate table and keep an open mind and heart as we look at Hearthstone cards nobody plays. This guy sucks! I wanted to include one of the cards from the StarCraft mini set, and sorry Grunty, you fit the bill. For one of the most impactful mini sets of all time, Grunty was a total letdown in terms of meta relevance. Letting down its mini set neutral legendary Murloc brother in Mutinous, Grunty pays homage to another underwhelming mini set legendary in Goliath, Sneed's masterpiece. Now, while Goliath wasn't super strong, it did have the gimmick of being the first Hearthstone card to demonstrate multi-targeting. Well, newsflash, Grunty, not only are you an 8-mana spider tank, we've already seen your little targeting trick before. The other problem with Grunty is that it came out at a time when Murloc synergies were at an all-time low. Best thing you can pair with Grunty right now is Murloc War Leader, and get ready to learn Ysera Buddy because that is an 11-mana combo. Murloc Tidecaller, I guess, gains 5 attack after you play this, so that's exciting. Maybe if some of the Murlocs survive, you could then play Brain Gill and draw a bunch of cards. But if you wanted that bad of an engine, I would say just get on one of those Boeing flights. Auras. Kakarot. Tell Piccolo we see the fit already. I guess you could call it an archetype. Auras answer the question, what if sigils and objectives were back and they were yellow? Obviously, I'm not talking about Crusader Aura when I talk about seldom played auras. And Trinket Artist, who might as well just read Draw a Divine Shield minion and Crusader Aura, is played as much as all the other aura cards combined. Deputization Aura has had quite the fall off, mostly due to being dropped from a +3 attack buff to a meager +1, but unlike Deputization Aura, most of the other aura cards never had much success to begin with. Life-Saving Aura was mediocre as a way to get more holy spells in holy spell-centered lists, but was never really necessary when Divine Brew could provide 3 holy spells by itself. Immolation Aura is played in 0.02% of decks. Inventor's Aura is in 0.03% of decks, and I thought it would be a lot better. Being a guaranteed Mech Warper effect for 2 turns sounded really good on paper, but I never saw any real play outside of this neat Mech Paladin deck that made it to rank 1 Legend in Wild a few months ago. At 0.01% is a card that you might not remember being released because instead of being released in an expansion, Resistance Aura was added to Paladin's core set in patch 27.0 in preparation for the Titan set to introduce a new mechanic to Paladin. While Crusader Aura has been a meta-defining staple for Paladin since its release as Bloodlust on Trenbolone in that same patch 27.0, its counterpart Resistance Aura has not been. Sprinkled into a few pure Paladin lists back in Fall of Ulduar meta, it's another card that I overestimated. Cult Neophyte is a card that sees play here and there, so I thought getting its effect for 3 turns would be superb, but not getting any minion body attached to it is rough work. Finally, we have a trio of 0% playrate cards with Celestial Aura and Crafter's Aura putting up 23.9 and 28.6% deck win rates respectively. Those win rates are not based on a great sample size since these cards don't see triple-digit times played, but still, yikes. Crafter's Aura can at least hang its hat on being a pretty solid arena card where the amortized cost of 7 mana for 3 6-drops is efficient for the format, but Celestial Aura? Yikes. Designed for some type of strategy where Paladin would only have 1 minion on board, it doesn't synergize with the new Terran cards for Paladin that flood the board, the Libram cards for Paladin that flood the board, the flood cards from Showdown in the Badlands, or even the combo cards from Perils of Paradise. Heck, it doesn't even synergize with the rest of the Aura archetype. And yes, it is an archetype because the final card is the alleged glue to bring all the unplayed cards together. Cardboard Golem. A card I consistently forget exists, this 4-mana 4/4 increases the duration of all your auras in hand, deck, and battlefield by 1. I guess it's sort of like Prince Kaliseth. If Prince Kaliseth came down 2 turns later, was released this side of the pandemic, and boosted up cards named Resistance Aura instead of all minions. Demon Hunter. As usual, Demon Hunter gets its own section. At first, this section was just going to be about the Among Us cards, but I also wanted to include DH's other legendaries from Great Dark Beyond in Zortoth, Breaker of the Stars. And then, if we're tossing out rarely played Demon Hunter legendaries, let's bring in CCG with an astounding 0% play rate. Sticking on Great Dark Beyond for a moment, it appears Demon Hunter was pretty highly leveraged into cards being next to other cards in your hand strategies, as can be seen with the crewmates, Eldritch Being as the mandatory 1-mana 1/3 that supports the new archetype, as well as another legendary dedicated to cards next to each other with Zortoth, Breaker of the Stars. Obviously, I have opened every single one of these cards. Like all bad cards, there's a whole lot of hoopla for something that's ultimately mediocre. Like sure, you could summon 3 4/4s after building your whole deck around this concept, or you could play Zerg Hunter or Cole's Priest. What? Cole's Priest? What's Cole's Priest? Poorly named priest decks aside, you are just not getting a lot out of these cards when you play them. Having the same health means they are susceptible to cards like Bladestorm, and if you don't happen to roll the Imposter with Rush, you don't immediately have any actionable items. It takes me back to Adventurer cards, which were sort of the first iteration of these sussy bakas. Baka! And those were pretty bad, but they were tolerable enough at 2 mana. While these do have the ability to summon multiple, getting out a 4/4 poison is a lot less interesting than a 2/2. Even after Deirdre was buffed to draw 2 crewmates, it's still too much squeeze and not enough juice with Ceaseless Expanse and other board clears running around. Chalk Artist. This next card might be today's lowest played card, because the last time I checked, in Diamond to Legend ranks, Chalk Artist has only been played 30 times since the release of the mini-set. Chalk Artist begs the question, what if instead of drawing a card you intentionally put into your deck, you could just burn those cards and replace them with something that is probably much worse? When there are such individually strong priest minions like Aman'Thul and Pip the Potent, it doesn't feel like something you want to gamble too much with. In addition, would it have been so unreasonable to give this Yeti stats? It's like you're paying some health for a premium effect when the effect is most likely washing away one of your good cards, like Chalk Art in the Rain. It would be terrible if you accidentally transformed a really good card like Mysterious Tocha. Mysterious Tocha, who, at 0.2% of decks and some memorable social media moments, isn't the perfect card for this video. But I just wanted to bring up this epic to talk about how hard it is to get anything with this little goober. I mean, you think you're so close to getting the health pool to 42, then all of a sudden your opponent comes in with some bull. The nostalgia cards. These cards aren't really part of any strategy unless you want to play some kind of Pip the Potent Geppetto, the Replicator deck. I'm actually a little disappointed these cards were more successful since they have such a flavorful design. Each of these cards has the effect of an iconic card with a retired keyword. Nostalgic Initiate, handling Spell Burst of the ubiquitous Intrepid Initiate of Skullman's Academy. Nostalgic Gnome has Honorable Kill from Fraction Alterac Valley, and is the Giga Gaga Gigo of Gnome Private. And Nostalgic Clown features the Corrupt keyword from Darkmoon Faire and presents the lovely Carnival Clown, even though real Darkmoon Faire heads know that this actually should have been Circus Medic. I don't have much to say about these cards. Whizbang's Workshop was a love letter to the previous 10 years of Hearthstone, and while no one really touched them in Standard, they managed to carve out a little success in Arena. Lena, Shop Manager, is impressive in its low play rate because it was actually the free reward track card for Whizbang's Workshop, meaning if you just opened Hearthstone during that entire time period, you probably have this card. So it makes its low play rate even that much greater. 3 power and 3 toughness for 6 mana is superbly weak, and you hope you're getting something super swag for that, but you're actually getting something really chuggy. It's not much better than Violet Illusionist, who was relevant around Obama's presidency, and it asks a lot of the user by expecting you to spend even more mana once you've already played it. Sure, you could hop in the lab and get Spirit Peddler involved, but at that point you might want to start picking up other hobbies like backgammon, doing taxes, or getting really good at shooting paper into a wastebasket. Ulu. There is no time as short as the time between me seeing this card revealed and realizing it would be the first legendary I opened from Great Dark Beyond. There are not a lot of Choose One cards in Standard right now, so at least it's consistent, but actually it looks like the upcoming Emerald Dream expansion will be further diluting the pool of Choose Ones further. Being in 0.02% of decks is pretty brutal. I know the card isn't very good, but I feel like getting 2 choose one cards in your hand is pretty good. Wait, you don't get 2 choose one cards. You get 2 choose one options added on to Ulu. So I guess the idea behind this card is that a 5-mana 6/5 could be pretty good if you wait for it to have the perfect choose one effect. The problem with this is that while you could get Cenarius at a 3-mana discount, you're much more likely to get the choose one effects of cards like Raven's Idol or Astral Phaser. AFK. A card that was apparently so strong in testing that it was nerfed right before release. AFK gives all your other minions that did not attack this turn +2/+2. While this card probably isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be on first release, it is still way too passive. Board-wide buffs like this are good for 2 things. Mostly, they're great for adding a bunch of attack to your board all of a sudden to give you enough reach to pressure and or destroy the enemy hero. You are not getting that effect at all. The other way they help is by creating a threatening board that either has a lot of taunts or a lot of health, so that damage dealing cards can't easily remove them. And AFK is at least able to provide a little something here. The issue lies in that effect just not being very enticing. Sure, you could put up a bunch of stats with non-threatening minions, but if I wanted to do that, I would just play Lab Patron or Gibbering Reject, which are both cards that definitely qualified for this list. I mean, look at them. You know, I wasn't even going to do this originally, but seeing that those 2 cards didn't make the list makes me feel the need to do some honorable mentions. So before I finish this video with a normal Boots-esque early mid-2010s game reviewer style look at the last card, here are the real forgettable cards. The cards so uninteresting and forgettable that they didn't even make this list of uninteresting and forgettable cards. Forgotten Animatronic. Freddy Fazbear betrays his own kind. Wind-Up Sapling and Wind-Up Enforcer. If I have to trade the card 4 times to be meh on it, maybe it needs some work. Weapons Attendant. No weapon needs you to do all of this. Shapeless Constellation. Well, now I'm just doing cards from the last time I did this video. Dwarf Planet. What? Seadra. This is not a Hearthstone card. Rescue. Neither is this one. Star Scale Constellar. Come on, show me a real one. Wait, this is a Hearthstone card? That could have fooled me. Pro Gamer. A card very near to my childhood. It's Pro Gamer. Man, this card is so bad, it makes Superman 64 look polished. I mean, come on, the graphics, the gameplay, it makes me want to go play Duke Nukem Forever. Advice on improving this card? I don't know. How about making it more like something good, like Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger? Not like what it is right now, which is like Sonic 06. I actually have an idea to make it better. For a sequel to this, what if you do something like Majora's Mask, where you actually make it dark and like psychological and stuff? Who am I kidding? If they make a sequel to this, it'll probably be more like Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. More like Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. Anyway, thanks for watching. Chun Discord available in the description. Chundo Twitter also there. Please subscribe.